So recently, I've been day trading and I had a lot of wins and all of a sudden I started getting losses and I wanted to give up. Sometimes I have to take a step back and realize I've only been trading for less than a year. Sometimes people go through things in life where they feel like they can't get a win, but they don't give themselves a chance to win and they give up. And today we have a special guest on who's going to share his story on how he gave himself a chance to win. Welcome to Give Yourself a Chance podcast.
Love it. Such a good one, dude. Well, before we even introduce Dave, let's share a little bit about our favorite things. Dave, I brought something for you specifically that I thought you'd really enjoy. This is a Pelon Verde type of varietal of mezcal. It's from a small batch producer. It's a club that we're part of. You have a copa filled. Would love to see if you like it. I know that mezcal is something you're new to, and so I'd love to see what your thoughts are. I have a nice little piece here from Cinco Sentidos. This is going to be really, really fun for me because I love papalote. It's a beautiful varietal. And then Min, the non-alcoholic here in the group, what do you got?
I got my favorite candy. And the reason why this is precious to me, it holds sentimental value. So growing up, we did not have money. So when I actually got good grades, you know, most people who do have money get rewards, big rewards. I got a lollipop from C's Candy.
Nice.
And if my parents actually had money, we would get a Hillshire's cheese bratwurst. But when we didn't, we would get a lollipop. So every time, you know, I got a good report card, we'd go out and get these lollipops. And these lollipops, they remind me of our small beginnings where it doesn't matter what the reward is, but as long as I got something from my mom, I knew that I am performing well and that, you know, sometimes we like, oh, when I get this, then something huge happens. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's the little wins that keep you going. And these little wins kept me going through life.
Recognition. She gave you some recognition.
Cheers to little wins.
Sweet. And cheers. Thank you.
Let's see if you like it.
Cheers. Boom.
This time around, bring a Hillshire bratwurst.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is, dude.
Bro, I love that.
It's so tasty.
That is amazing.
It's so good. Yeah, the coolest part is that they show you who the farmers are.
And I love this right here. What's this called again?
A copa.
Copa. I need to get some copas.
So the really fun ones are the ones that don't look alike because they're all handmade, right? Like you'll also find them made out of shells or wood because they'll just use whatever they have natural to them there in that area.
That is beautiful.
So yeah,
beautiful.
It's really fun. So anybody who doesn't know who this is, you will by the end of this podcast, is Dave Savage. Dave, you have one of the coolest names I've ever heard in my life. Right? It really is, dude.
It was a gift at birth.
Well, I'm glad to hear you didn't change that and make it a gift for yourself later on in life. With that being original, I'd love to just kind of hear a little bit of your story, right? You've been a huge success that I've looked up to. When we connected, it was more of an inspiration of being in the mortgage industry. And the more I've gotten to know you, the more I've seen your entrepreneurial heart. I've seen your successes, and I admire you a ton and what you've created. So I'd love to just even hear, you know, a summary of what you've done so the audience knows, and then we'll just ask you questions from there if that's all right.
Right on. Well, it's an honor to be here. I love what you guys are doing. I look at anyone who's creating social media content, creating podcasts, it's leadership.
Yeah.
It's bringing leadership to a community. I love the ethos of what you're doing in terms of just shining a light, doing better, winning in life. So, I mean, I've had wins and losses. I'll try to, you know, keep it brief and focus more on the wins than the losses. But I grew up wanting to be an entrepreneur. I mean, I've always been very creative. Some of it was driven by challenges. I am ADD, you know, and I think everybody in the society nowadays is ADD, but I was a kid that took Ritalin in school and, you know, didn't want to be that kid that went up to the front of the class and did that. I have more than mild dyslexia. Pretty significant dyslexia. So graduating from high school was tough. I mean, I was a good athlete, so I feel like I graduated from high school on an athletic scholarship. But
what sport?
Football, track, and wrestling.
Wow, okay, a lot of them.
Yeah, through the discus. Wrestling was my best sport. Football, you know, I started both ways, but, you know, I was not going to be a D1. Well, who knows? Maybe I would have been a D1 player if I would have tried hard enough. But creativity, my dad, you know, went the conventional way. You know, he got his MBA, was an accountant, you know, and I'm just like, I never wanted to be that guy. You know, just going to high school and graduating was tough enough. So I was always not afraid to ask people anything. You know, so I was always quite well known as the guy that will say anything and ask for people for anything. And so sales was something was a natural gift. I think it was pure luck that I fell into the mortgage business. Well, it was a little bit of luck, and it was a little bit not afraid to ask someone something.
I think most people, it's luck to fall in the mortgage business. I don't think anyone wakes up and goes, let's get into the mortgage business.
Right? Yeah, I think on my 6th year to become a junior in college, and I was working at Smart and Final. And Mel Samick, if you check out this podcast, thank you. He's the one that was my mentor that brought me into the mortgage business. But I went to a happy hour, and he drove up in a Mercedes, and he bought everybody drinks. And you're like, this dude's rich, and he is cool. I just called him up and said, I don't think I said I'll work for free, but I had that I'll work for free vibe on me. and so, I mean, that was really the beginning of just a massive gift in my life. I mean, I'm just so grateful that I found the mortgage industry early in my 20s. I think the first loan I closed was at like 10.2% at 2 points. And so just falling into the mortgage industry.
It jumped back in my head.
Right? So for 37 years, rates have just pretty much gone down. But I mean, that was hitting the lotto. And then founding Mortgage Coach, I had gotten to a point where, as a younger kid, I always wanted to invent something and make it a big deal. Like, I don't know why, but that was just something. And there's other little things that I tried to invent and things I tried to take to market that would be a longer podcast. But, when I found Mortgage Coach and the 2 years of developing it, the few years of having success with it, I mean, I was in love.
Can I ask you a question about that? Were you a programmer? Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs have ideas to design something, but because they can't program, it's like, are you afraid someone's going to steal your idea, or how can you even get it to fruition? Steve Jobs.
Absolutely not a programmer, even
really
if
quick,
I wanted to be.
For the non-mortgage audience pieces here, right? Like, for anybody who doesn't know, Mortgage Coach is a technology that really good loan officers use to be able to help clients identify what the actual cost of the mortgage is going to be and how to analyze their options and make better decisions for their future. So it's a software piece. It's not like he just did great in sales, which I know Dave did, and he's not sharing that component to it as well. But it's a beautiful software system that up levels the mortgage industry as a whole.
And if you're watching this, I'm sure you have an idea in your head, just like myself, just like Sosi. The hardest part about having an idea, especially when it comes to using technology, is execution. So the fact that with the dyslexia, and the ADD, you got ADD, right? ADHD, and you weren't a programmer, and you can still execute a program, I give you so much props. That is
just crazy.
Yeah.
There's so many people that I know that I've coached or trained, and I see they get stuck. And a lot of times they're stuck because they're just not even asking somebody how to do it better, right? And the fact that you continually, from what you shared earlier, you asked a lot of questions. I think that's such a great strength. And so I'd love to ask, why do you think people don't ask questions, right? Because there's a lot of, I don't know if you can identify that in your world, but in my world, I've seen it all the time.
For sure. And I study the difference between bitterness and better. Like now being 58 years old, I have friends that I've known since childhood that are better. I have friends that I've known since childhood that are bitter. I've seen people go through different experiences in life and they're getting bitter. And I see people that are going through experience in life and getting better. I don't know exactly what's holding people back from being curious, which to me is a seed of being better, versus going down the bitter road. I do know for sure not asking questions, not taking risk with your life, not being bold and courageous and, radically authentic, all those things are the path to betterment and getting better and bitter. But I think at the end of the day, it has to do with fear. People, again, I'm a big fan of the book, The Four Agreements. And I think people make assumptions, they're negotiating with themselves. They have the wrong conversation with themselves. 4 agreements, and it just goes down the wrong path. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's probably just making the wrong assumptions, keep them inside themselves versus going outside themselves.
You hit something so well. And, I remember I've been with people who they wake up at 4 a.m. every morning, right? And I think you have a really early morning routine too.
I do.
And I felt at first, man, I just don't have that desire in the morning to do it. I don't know how they have this desire. And then somebody gave me the secret. I don't have the damn desire either. I just do it, right? And that bold and courageous terminology really puts that into context. People don't ask questions because they might be assuming they have to feel like they're going to be okay asking it. But the reality is it takes boldness to do it when you don't feel like you can do it.
I never thought of it until this conversation, but I do think the curiosity is a piece of the puzzle. I think another piece of the puzzle is your why and your ambition. So I was gifted with a very strong competitive nature. I wanted to, do good and be good at sports at everything. People that know me, and friends, I am absolutely not a bad loser. But I want to win. I don't.
But I'm a great winner.
I don't.
I'm not a bad loser, but I'm a great winner.
I love playing cornhole. I love playing ping pong. Bring it. And,
That's funny.
And I also have this sense that I can win.
Yeah.
So I do think having a strong why. Like early on in my career, I didn't have this altruistic. I want to change how people get into debt. I just wanted to drive a Mercedes Benz and be rich and successful. And it was just. But I had a why. I wanted it. And so I do think getting out and being curious, it has to be driven by purpose and why.
I love that. So before we get into this massive win that you got, you said that you've had some losses. So you were top loan officer, right? I've seen your pictures. You had beautiful pens that were worth more than most people want to admit.
That was a different day.
You had great suits, like you drove all the cars. From that position, you decided to try to endeavor out with creating something new. Was there something you tried to create that you failed at before you did Mortgage Coach in that timeline?
Well, I mean, the mortgage was, my income doubled almost every year I was in the business. I had a, incredible mortgage company, great partner, it was our second home, Kelly and I, in Newport Beach on Dover Shores.
Dang.
This is before we had kids. I had the Mercedes S500, $100,000 car. I mean, had had this
$100,000 car before $100,000 cars.
Yeah, but which, by the way, I am not
popular.
By the way, I am not proud of that. That was not a good decision. And then, I had built a company, had a, blue chip A+ office space over in Irvine, just was killing it. And then interest rates shifted. There was a little mini meltdown before your guys' time probably, but it was like right before 2000. And I didn't adjust my lifestyle. I didn't adjust our company. I went from making a fortune to losing a fortune. And so, that was a humbling time in business. That was not a win. That, by the way, that was the time when I decided that, hey, let's take Mortgage Coach, this hobby company. It was like my side gig. My wife was a realtor at the time, and she sold the first 500 mortgage coaches. And I said, you know what? I'm going to be happy. That was the time that I transitioned from mortgage into full-time technology entrepreneur. But that was a business loss. I lost a lot of money. I lost a lot of pride. But I would say it was also one of the biggest gifts, and that was the first big humbling time. I mean, the meltdown was still coming. Didn't know that 2008 was coming. That was around, I don't know if it was 1999. Yeah, 1999 was not a winning year for me.
And that's the year you actually committed to go Mortgage Coach all the way.
Well, actually, it was June of 2000 that I formally, my partner Patrick Farron and I exited the mortgage business. My co-founder of Mortgage Coach, Greg Wexler, and I actually took Mortgage Coach out of the garage, and we started a company called Smart Reply, which we co-founded together also.
What happened to Smart Reply?
So Smart Reply is an incredible success story. I mean, today, Smart Reply is now a part of Genesis with a Y, and it's the largest mobile marketing company in the world. So
more W's and more W's.
Yeah, so Smart Reply started off as this voice marketing company, but then we decided to focus on retailers. And we had, we built Foot Locker's first mobile club and mobile presence. We built Old Navy and Gap's mobile platform. We had 80 of the top 200 retailers that used our platform. And I think I sold that in 2006 or 4. I mean, it's on my LinkedIn. But I mean, that was that was a company that was killing it. There were some changes in compliance law, and I went from like an $18 million a year business down to a $6 million a year business. And that's when I decided to sell that and focus on Mortgage Coach. I'm very proud of that. I think it was 2006. Most mobile marketing was in Asia and Japan and overseas. And there's something called the Mobile Marketing Association, which is this international organization. And in 2006, there were first time that a U.S. company had won a mobile marketing award, and there were 3 U.S. companies. It was Verizon, Procter & Gamble, and Smart Reply.
Damn!
Wow. And that was really our pivot. We won that, and between the confidence that it gave us and the street cred that it gave us,
for sure,
it really launched Smart Reply.
Before we go into Mortgage Coach, because you've obviously taken a different approach of how you sold Mortgage Coach, what your game plan is there. Your level 1 seems like Smart Reply. If we can call it level 1, what is the process for those watching that are thinking, I'd love to create an idea and sell a business? What does that even look like? What would you give them a 2-minute summary?
Smart Reply is not the model on how to do that. Like, we had offers to buy us at our peak, and we didn't do it. And I should have done it because I could have gotten enough money that would have been life-changing, but I wanted an even bigger number.
Yeah.
And then some macroeconomic things changed. And then it was like, okay, I'm going to sell it. I did not hire Dave Groves, who actually helped me with Mortgage Coach, and Vaccaro. And I, did the deal myself, being cocky, thinking we could do a deal. I mean, it was a transaction. I mean,
Yeah.
and I sold it to a great company. And today I'm very proud that, like, hey, Mortgage Coach, Smart Reply did this. And I get to say, oh, it's the biggest mobile marketing company in the world. But I didn't make money. I mean, the money I made on that was like this.
Crazy.
And so don't do what I did at Smart Reply.
Know when to get out.
Know when to get out and hire great people. It's all about a team. Building the right team, having the right timing. So Smart Reply, as successful as it was, I did not manage the exit well. I didn't manage some of the business decisions well because I was more of a entrepreneur innovator than I was a businessman. So I think I've hopefully I've evolved that. But I think the question was, what are the right ways to do that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, first of all, have a great company, have a great culture. Rule of 40 is I didn't really know what that meant. But for all you entrepreneurs out there to try and build companies, Rule of 40 is where the combination of your profit margin and your growth rate are 40 or more. So like, let's just say you were at 40% profit and flat, you roll 40. I mean, you're probably better off being like, I'm growing my annual revenue by 30%, and I'm 10% profitable, you're Rule of 40. So that, and then get a great banker. I would never represent myself again.
What do you mean by that, banker? Share with us what that is.
Yeah, so David Groves of Vaccaro, he's an investment banker.
Okay.
And he helped us. He helped us package our company for sale, run the financials, put together the pitch deck, figure out
Made you marketable.
Yeah, made us marketable. Who are all the companies you
So
should sell
is that what an
to?
investment banker does?
That's what an investment
They're pretty much
banker
like a real estate agent for a house.
For a business.
But for a business.
You're your agent, pretty much.
Yeah, get an investment banker. And if I had to do over, I probably would have engaged that relationship a year or two before. I waited until hey, this is the year I want to do it.
Should you engage that right when you hit the Rule of 40, in your opinion?
I don't know if there's a right time. Well, it depends on your size. I mean, if you're a SaaS technology company like us, I mean, 10 million in annual recurring revenue is like a milestone where there's a very big group of private equity firms and strategics that want you. 5 million is kind of like you're in the game.
Yeah.
If you really do a transaction less than that, it's more of like an acqui-hire. Like you could do a deal, but someone's probably just gobbling you up and you're not really receiving the type of shareholder value. So 10 million in annual recurring revenue is like, I think if I'm mentoring young entrepreneurs, old or young, it's like, that's the target. That is, Rule of 40, and have a great investment banker that's going to help you.
That's awesome.
I'm like mentally taking out
me
notes
too,
right
dude.
now.
By the way, that's my playbook, and that's things I've learned and the way I will play the game going forward.
The second thing I wanted to kind of point out with what you shared in the very beginning, right? You brought up this point of questions and curiosity, which I think is really amazing. I'm very fascinated by psychology. So when those little things stick out to me, I'm like, oh, let me figure that out a little bit more. But the second thing that I think you brought out was this aspect of how Min's question was, how did you inspire somebody else to come on board with you? And I hear the term, right? And I think we all do, your network is your net worth. And sometimes we don't know why that is. But I think you showed an example of why that is, right? Like you connect with people that you're working with, you network with them, and then there's opportune times that you guys are just able to collaborate and create something together. And you've already built the foundation for them to believe in you. So it's a lot easier to inspire them, right? You're not inspiring strangers, you're inspiring friends.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a piece to the puzzle. I mean, my two formulas, have a purpose-driven business. As an operator in the mortgage business, when I went from top producer that was a top producer to one of the best loan officers in the country was, my advice makes a difference. I'm going to help you achieve financial freedom and build your net worth faster by making smart mortgage decisions. That is when my mortgage career killed it. And recruiting was, I don't want to say it was easy, but I mean, I was one of the top companies in Orange County because I had a mission that was more interesting than just being a top producer. And then, so I've always had two things. I've always been mission driven in all my businesses. And then I've always been like, I literally and I think people sense this who have ever worked with me. I want this to be the best job you've ever had. You know, and I say this to my employees when I hire them. I say this to people when they leave. I care about you a lot more as a human being than I do as an employee, a team member. And when they leave, I'm like, love you, kill it. You know, you're always welcome back. And so if you create that culture where people can grow, and even when I recruit people, it's not like, hey, come work for me for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, if this is a good time for you now, you know, like when I recruited Joe Patur, our president, which was a super important person to bring into Mortgage Coach at the time that he did, he bought into the mission, and then he bought into, I'm going to have the freedom to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
It really is that simple. Like, I think those are like my two guiding lights and things that I would throw out to other entrepreneurs.
You said you brought in a president. How hard was it to let someone else call all the shots? Because that's where I am in my career right now, where I'm I'm like
face.
I'm the face, I'm Pinocchio, but now I'm letting other people beat Geppetto and pull the strings. Which, if you're watching this, I still love you. But how did you let go of that power without being afraid that they're going to change your vision, change your dream, and that will you lose control and get ousted?
So a couple of things. So one, I think I have an advantage here than a lot of people because I have strengths and I have real weaknesses. So I need operators around me. I need different people around me to execute really well. And so I can't do a lot of things really well. I can do a few things really well.
The first company you try to take it all on yourself? Is that what you?
No. I've always really embraced other people in leadership.
Last topic here, Dave. With Mortgage Coach specifically, I think it's going to be a cool case study, right? If you're okay sharing this. Mortgage Coach, you founded it, found the right networking partners, came in, inspired them. You got everybody who was complimentary. You followed your 3 principles. Your exit has seemed different on this one than it did with Smart Reply. What's been your exit? What's your goals? What's next for you? I know you've thrown out the new name. When this podcast airs, the new name will already be public. Tell us your vision with all this, man.
Yeah, so it's amazing. I mean, it was a life-changing financial exit for me, and life-changing in a couple ways. I mean, true, financially. Today, I hit a freedom point, but really life-changing in the fact that, merging Mortgage Coach and Sales Boomerang, having LLR believe in what we believe in, creating a company, Trust Engine is the company name. I wish I would have worn my Trust Engine shirt to this interview, with the mission that all borrowers can achieve financial freedom.
I love that statement.
And I wish I had my No Borrower Left Behind shirt.
That was a good shirt.
There are so many people that are renting that could be owning.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that could move up and should move up, but they don't know it. Mm-hmm. And so, to me, the dream is we will, to me, it's not even a question anymore. We will change how people get into debt. And, by 2025, for sure by 2027, a fee worksheet and the way people in America have to get into debt where they're buying loans and they have to be the one to call the lender and say, hey, should I get a loan? No, the lender should be telling you, hey, it makes sense for you to refinance. Hey, you're qualified to move up. And look what this will mean to your financial freedom. And look what this will mean to your net worth. The lending industry should be leading the way for renters, leading the way for consumers. And I think, I don't know, this is not airing in 2025, but you heard it, in 2025, no later than 2027, that'll be the way. This will be the way that the lending industry serves borrowers and renters in America.
Yeah. Oh, man. I think that's beautiful. Sweet. Well, anything else to add as closing remarks before I close this out? Do you have any last words?
I mean,
Dave Savage, successful entrepreneur, multiple times, founding companies that are world-renowned now at this point, national top.
Well, we're getting there. We're getting there. No, I do want to close with a thought because, the older you get, the more you kind of create your own philosophies and you have your own quotes. I mean, there are quotes from famous people that have become so much of who I am. There is a quote that I didn't totally create it myself, but my son, who's a lacrosse player, had a coach who's famous, Brendan Fowler. Anybody in the lacrosse community, the guy, helped Duke win 2 national championships. But when I was making the pivot from being a coach for my son in 8th grade, he gave me this advice the summer between 8th grade and 9th grade. And I said, hey, I asked Brendan, I go, hey, on the way to practice or on the way to games, I'm not his coach anymore. Really don't think I should be giving him advice on how to be a better lacrosse player, or what the game plan is. Him and his coach have it. What should I be talking about? And Brendan just looked at me, we were in the backyard, and he's like, the only advice Jack needs from you in high school is on the way to a game, by the way, not practice, a game, is have fun playlists. And that little mantra, and it also kind of speaks to what you said earlier, like have the courage to ask questions. It's like if you work hard, if you prepare, just have fun playlists. Like I even say it like when I sat down this podcast, this is a different format for me. This is not how I usually create content. And a couple times I'm just like, have fun playlists. And so I just think I just throw that out as some, have fun playlists, work hard, it'll all be good.
I love that. If you're thinking to yourself, you're like, but I can't have fun because I'm not good enough. I can't play loose because I don't have the skill set to pivot and do what I need to do to be as successful as others. Remember this, be curious enough to humble yourself, look dumb and ask questions, be committed enough to push yourself and believe that you truly can. So give yourself a chance. Have fun, play loose, believe in yourself, because there's 3 testaments here that doing that is a really great return.